Not Upendo, Milwaukee. That just means I love you. Welcome to the Nyumba Upendo Show, the House of Love on WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM. I'm one of your hosts, Kweku. I'm Moutry, joined
You're
by...
joined by Dr.Alisia, Moutry. Good morning, Milwaukee. We're so happy to be here today.
Hey, you know what? We can't do this show without everybody that we got on. Oh, we got to get some more mics up in here because we got a whole lot of people on the set. But Brother Debo, Brother Jermaine, right out doing it like they do all the time. And you know, we cannot start the show until we do our P and Ps. People say, what's the P and P? Well, the first is in the tradition of our elders, of our ancestors. It is customary to get the permission of an elder to speak. We have that permission. And then that second P is a prayer. Our mother has prayed that we have a successful show, that the show be beneficial and great for the people of Milwaukee and everybody who listens. And so when we think about that, it's just like, it's so powerful because we talk about the power of prayer. We talk about the power of the elders, the ancestors, all of us coming together. But I always try to do a little shout out to the show. And I think this is so perfect for the show today when we start talking about unity in the community. You can't have community without unity. It's two people's birthday today. They were born on the same day, same year. And I think about like people who are in the community that do things good. You got Victor Barnett and Andre Lee Ellis. You know, you think about the Running Rebels, you know, you think about Cage, you know, all of the things that they do. And it's just, I want to give them a shout out for what they're doing currently within our city. What's on your
shout
mind?
out to? I want to give a shout out to the Cream City Links chapter. They are getting ready to host the 11th annual Denim and Diamonds fundraiser. It's a scholarship fundraiser. It's talking about raising money to send children to college. It's going to be held on September 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Wisconsin Country Club on 6200 West Good Hope. Come out and see us. You know why they should come out? They just may know the host of the event. Guess who the host is? Dr. Kweku and Dr.Alisia Moutry. Come out and see us in person. Come on, hang out with us. We're about to make it a good time. We're trying to raise money for the
party
babies.
with a purpose.
There
It's
you
a party
go.
with a purpose, and that's what we're all about. You know, we had something different for the show today, but you know, sometimes it's a shift in the atmosphere, and it's like sometimes things need to be said, things need to be done. We know about, unfortunately, the prolific gang violence and gun violence that we have within our city, and sometimes, you know, every death is significant. But sometimes there's death that touch a lot more people and then make it even more of an urgent matter. And then the question is, well, what's next? You know, I think about when George Floyd died and you see this big old man getting choked to death by this person who wasn't acting the way that his badge told him. But he did something so significant. He called for his mama. And when he called for his mama, there were signs all across the world. They said when he called for his mama, he summoned mamas all over the world. So George Floyd wasn't just about America. It was about this type of oppression that's felt everywhere. And that would just became the significance. And so now when I think about today, and a month ago to the date, we lost OG Tweezy. And it's one of those things where you say it's just like a senseless death. But when that happened, it was like, not only was it a powerful homegoing celebration where you see the community come out in a powerful manner to say goodbye to a person who meant so much to the city in so many different ways, but it says, okay, this just can't be it. We got to do something different. And so yesterday there was a call. It was a state of emergency call. And people say, well, these things are done all the time. You know, something happens, we talk, and then it dissipates, everything goes. Well, it happens because you say, well, what's the follow-up? But in the studio, we got Sister Rosalind McLean, Pastor Redante Ashford, and I want to bring them here especially because pastor is over at the Infinite Church.
Yes, sir.
And he said, you know what, I got a space. This is personal to me. And it's not just about me. It's like we leaving eagles at the door, we're bringing everybody in. Let's come together and get ideas. So with that being said, Pastor, we kind of talked about that was it. But what really made you say, I'm going to do this? I'm going to put my ego down. I'm bringing leaders in all across the city. And we got to do something, not just at this meeting, but we got to have some important follow-up.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for having us this morning. But what really prompted this discussion was that, of course, a lot of people knew OG Tweezy. He was a mover and shaker for many decades here in the city. He was one of the biggest impacts on the entertainment culture in the city. And And this was my best friend.
Yeah.
And he was my best friend
Condolences.
through all of my life transitions, whether I was in the streets rapping, being Mr. Do It to Death. We was best friends then, all the way to when I transitioned into the church and got saved. He was with me every step of the way as my friend. And so this was very personal for me. And then to also be a member of this community and watch him be slaughtered, as they posted it all over social media, to watch him be slaughtered with his back turned in a mass shooting 3 blocks from the mayor's office in downtown Milwaukee. And yes, it was a mass shooting because 5 people were shot that day and 2 lost their lives. He and along with Bubs Dubs that day. God bless the dead for both of them, right?
Yes, sir.
And so and nobody said anything, and even to this day right now, this is another shooting that is still went unsolved. And I said, something got to give. These are literally mass shootings that are happening in our community on a daily basis, whether it be women being shot, children being shot. We all are used to, growing up in the hood here and so on and so forth. We used to violence and things of that nature, but this is something else that's taking place, right? Yeah. It's something else where people that are literally just going to work are losing their lives. There was an officer just before that who lost his life just at work. And so, if I was in the streets, there'll be a part of me that feel like I had to ride for my homie. I had to do something. And I couldn't
get some revenge.
But I can't let this slide. I can't let this ride. We got to do something. Now, we can't react in that kind of way, but we got to react in a different kind of way. And guess what? We have to, first and foremost, we have to hold our civic leaders accountable, and we have to hold our own culture accountable, because we have a culture that curates this level of violence, right? And so we began turning the wheel. I called Biko Baker. Shout out to Rob Biko Baker. Dr. Rob Biko Baker.
He don't like to go by that, but I give him respect.
No, brother deserves all the credit and all the due, because that brother organizes things from behind the scenes and makes things move. I called him and I expressed to him how I felt, and he's, let's do something. And so we put together this state of emergency, MKE, and what it is about primarily, first and foremost, in the agenda is unity, is bringing all of the organizations together. Everybody, not trying to take over anybody's organization, not trying to parent group or son anybody's organization, because there's a lot of movers and shakers that are always already doing this work. We have a lot of CVI people that are out here frontlining, all the way to people that are working in legislature and so on and so forth. But how do we get all of these people in the room?
And CVI is Community Violence Interrupters. That's for everybody listening.
Yes. But how do we get all these people in the room? All of these you were there, all these creative and wonderful minds. If we could all come together and not just be working in our isolated groups, I'm sure that from that, we can begin to curate some level of answer, whether it be our cultural influence or whether it be our civil discussions as far as how we are policed, because I do believe, I'm not trying to overtalk here, but I do believe that the answer that has been given us by proof to safe policing is what people were calling for, has now been no policing. And I think that that's the answer that's been handed to us. And we have to stand up and say, no, the answer to safe policing is not no policing, and so.
No. And I think that's a good point, because when people say, well, I don't like the police, it's like, I don't like if the police abuse their power. We want you there for safety and protection and things of that nature. It's just, we don't want it to be a 50-50 call, whether you're going to be a friend or a foe, but it is absolutely essential to have an authority figure in there. But for those who are in that authority position, to use it properly. And when that's done right, that's what we want. And that's what we talk about community policing. When the police officers live in the neighborhood, they know you, so you already understand that they're a friend and whatnot. It's when sometimes they don't understand the neighborhood, and it's a us versus them that we get these adversarial relationships.
Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you a question. I know you. I've got to ask a question. Did you ever think that we would be in a time in Milwaukee where Water Street, which was historically really known as a white area, that we couldn't even really go in and party in, right? Did you ever think that these kinds of things will be happening on Water Street, or that multiple people, there were people that were shot before OG Tweezy downtown. There were people that were shot during, and somebody got morning. Yeah, so this morning. So what I'm asking is, did you ever think that we'll be in a time where you could be in downtown Milwaukee in the open and somebody could be slaughtered and then be able to get away with it, let alone be shot, but also able to get away with it. You would think that in your mind, you're thinking, oh, they got cameras everywhere. They're going to follow. Like, we had to sneak and do crime.
Man, that is so true, because there was a point in time that I remember we wouldn't go past 60th because of the police presence and things like that. We'll go up to 60th to turn around and come right back down to the lower numbers. And we stayed away from Water Street because of exactly.
But can we keep it real? Even driving in certain areas in downtown, us coming up, what would you tell your friends? Man, we're going to get sweated, right? They're going to sweat us, right? You know what I mean? So we had to sneak and do crime. Now you can just be driving with no even front clip to your car. So what I'm saying is the answer to safe policing has been no policing. I have to make this point. I drove from Washington Park, the end of Sherman, all the way to my church, which is at Sherman and Greentree, just giving you context. I drove from there to there, and I didn't see one police officer. And that's not blaming our civic leaders. That's just saying, hey, what's going on here? And then we also have to address our community, because we have a community that's curating the violence, the drill music, and the so on and so forth. So this meeting is to bring, and if you were there last night, it was not just to say that we have all the answers. It was to say, hey, let's come back to the table. Everybody, the rappers, Steve the Stoner, all of them were there.
Why don't you talk about that? Talk about how you all were so specific and saying, okay, we're going to have these panel audience, but we're going to have a Q&A from the audience, but we got a specific panel set up for all of these different demographics. So talk about from the faith base, from the young people, those who control content.
In that room last night, you had, myself, whoever I'm supposed to be. You had Pastor Ken Locke from Evolve, and everybody know the level of force.
I was a second grade teacher, so I'm always proud
to
see him do his thing.
Pastor Walter Lanier, from a faith-based standpoint, these are progressive Baptist church. These people are really on the front lines out here doing the work, unquestionable, right? And then, from a influencer standpoint, you had Steve the Stoner, Wave Chappelle, you had Ray Nitty in the building, you had all of these different movers and shakers that are there. And then the youth panel, those young people were giving answers and giving us insight, because and
that's where it starts, though. You look at anything, especially there was a man, he was 74 years old,
74,
and he was talking about everything that they did in the past. But I said, when you look at the 60s, that's where the movement started. It was the young people from like 15 all the way to that college age that was like, we ain't going for this. And some of the old people sometimes be a little slow to move. They're like, we moving. So to be able to have that voice, I thought was so important.
You mentioned something as well, though. You mentioned about the movement in the 70s and 60s and so on and so forth. Another component was that a lot of these movements were accessible and started in the church. And so the church opened up its doors to allow that community access, to allow those conversations to be had. And it wasn't about trying to proselyte people to our faith. It was about, hey, this is what's happening in our community. And so during what I seen the Black Lives Matter movement, the church was pretty much kicked out of the conversation. We no longer trust the faith-based organizations in that kind of way, and so on and so forth. The pastor stealing all the money, driving the big car.
We got to call.
I was just going to say, if you don't mind, let us.
You want question or comment?
Yeah.
I got a comment.
Turn your radio down, please, so we can hear you properly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, fellas. A lot of people aren't mentioning this. The police departments can tell you this. All the police who are missing are working for ICE. They left. The amount of money that they're making, plus the recent increase, they got a bonus increase of $42,000 in addition to their regular salary. They talked about this live on multiple networks, but the police that are left because of reasons they don't have a contract or whatever else reason, and the amount of money that they're making working for ICE all throughout the United States, they're working for ICE.
No, no, that's a good comment. So when we start thinking about that, these are all of the things that we got to bring back to the table because it's information that's pulled in. But I think you're absolutely right, and for that same point, and some of the things that I love that the faith leaders have said before, because Brother William Muhammad was there from Muhammad Mosque number 3, and they talk about what used to be done by the church, and then how some of the church was separated, whether it's through grants and monies and different things where their voice was watered down. So in some ways, the church did let us down, but then there's also another population of the church that say, "Hey, we ain't went nowhere, so you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater." It's some of us who are still boots on the ground and doing that, but I think people know who those people are. So, Roslyn, I want to kind of get you in before we go to a commercial break and whatnot like that. As far as what did you get as the moderator, as far as saying a sense of hope? Caller, we see you. We're going to get to you on the other side of the break. But Roslyn, before we go to commercial, I just want you to tell me as a moderator, what was your sense of feel of the night? And as far as the carryover, that what we're going to do afterwards, what made the night special?
Well, real quick, thank you guys. You always create a great space for everyone. So we appreciate that. I really got the feeling of hope. Myself, I do a lot of work in the community. I'm used to going in and out of meetings, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, like meetings is happening. But one of the things that was really different is, like Apostle said, it took place in the church, and not only was we putting God in the forefront, but we were also on neutral grounds, with the neutral person hosting it, which is very important because, as many of us know, with a lot of the organizations and things, it's a lot of cliques and gangs and, a lot of animosity from the streets, but then also from business because people is chasing the money and, all of those other issues. So this definitely, this space, having God in the midst, definitely gave a completely different vibe. And then the other thing is, yes, there's issues with, jobs being hired out or, whatever, people going different places, relocating, people tapping out. But what we needed and what I saw, and I hope we keep, is people coming together saying, yeah, maybe this have happened, maybe this is going on, but this right here cannot happen. Like we're coming together, enough is enough. And that is something, because if we even go back historically, they didn't have all the resources that we have now. None of this stuff even existed for them, but they were still powerful and effective by coming together saying absolutely not. So I felt that. And again, the importance is that we keep that going, though. We got to keep it going.
Yeah. And I want to just jump in real quick just to talk about that word hope that you had in there. We know that hope is not a strategy, but that's the start of things. And so what was nice for me to hear is that different ministers of different congregations came together, because as we know, there's cliques in the streets. There can be cliques in the church as well. And so I'm just saying it. But what I love about it is that we can put that to the side because there's a bigger purpose here and God's leading it, and we can do this thing together. And so we can be better together. And so what I want to make sure that at some point when we get ready to do our break, this hope, we got to start with the hope. But now my question is, what's the strategies? What are the things that we can do? Because we all have a responsibility, not just you. I'm so happy you started this thing, open this door. I want to make sure that we get into, before this show is over with, what can we all do? We all have a responsibility. You know what?
One thing, and we got to make sure we say it even on this platform, and I'll say it quickly.
No, hold on. Don't say it quickly.
Let's hold on. We got that's a tease. That's a tease.
Come back to Nyumba,
there we go.
WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM. We're here with Pastor Redante Ashford and Rosalind McLean. We'll see you on the other side. Listen to the words the pastor has to say. 106.5. That's the House of Love, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing love to this house, to this community. Now, right before the break, we had the pastor who was going into saying some things, so we're gonna give him his chance to say that. Then, Carla, we coming right to you.
Yeah, I was just stating that, there were a lot of influencers, a lot of very important people from various walks
Yes,
of
sir.
life. And even though I do feel like there was great church representation, I felt like there could have been more.
Yeah.
I felt like there should have been more, because here's the thing that I'm echoing to everybody. Murder is bad for business.
For everybody.
Killing is bad for business. Who's going to attend your church if everybody's dead? Who's going to go to your mosque if everybody's dead? Who's going to come to your party? Who's going to come to your club? Who's going to come to any of your if everybody is out here dead
Or afraid they're gonna get
or
killed.
afraid they're going to get killed? Who are you even going to advocate for? So this is a interest that's for in all of our best interests. And when I was in the streets, we knew that murder was bad for business.
Mhm.
You can't even get none popping on
Come
the
on.
block because man, you bringing the police around.
Yeah.
So my point that I'm making is that this is a clarion call that we are all declaring that enough is enough. But we got to all be one voice together, because if this happens in a suburb, in Waukesha, one of these other areas, you better believe
It's clamped down quickly.
that our white brothers and sisters are going to come together, and they're going to put pressure on everything, every resource they have, from neighborhood watch to who ring
Everybody
cameras
got
is
their
working.
ring cameras. I was about to say that like
Who
that.
ring
We got
they
that
gonna
angle.
they
Forget
gonna
about
put,
Alexa.
they're gonna say, hey, this cannot happen in our community. And if we gotta pool together our ring cameras, whatever it takes, we got to come together, and we got to say enough is enough with this killing. Enough is enough. And by the way, justice for OG Tweezy. There's a mass shooter on the loose in our community, people, and somebody knows who did it. And y'all
And it
need
ain't
to.
snitching. We talking
No.
about that.
Don't. I'm not asking the dope boys to tell. I'm not asking the murderers to tell. You know who I'm talking to? I'm talking to the people who are
Who
not
listening.
under the G code. You are not under the G code. I'm talking to those people.
Come on.
You ain't under the G code. I ain't expecting your cousin them trapping to say nothing. I'm talking to the people who are not under the G code that know what's happening, because you heard it too.
You see
You
something,
understand
say
what I'm
something.
saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying justice for OG Tweezy, justice for Bubs Dubs, justice for Diamond,
who's been
for
unsolved
everybody
murders.
who has
Who
been
fell
all
under
these unsolved murders in our community.
Yeah.
And we to the point that we just becoming numb and immune to murder.
We can't.
That's crazy.
Come on.
That's crazy.
Carla, we want to thank you for staying on so long. The call is yours. You got a question or a comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Rick calling long distance from Germany.
Hey, Rick. I love when you call.
First of all, I'd like to say that everybody's mic is not plugged in properly. And then I had a question about the name of your show. Could you slowly state the name of your show? And then last, I would like to ask the sister host, what kind of doctor are you?
All right, I love that, Rick. So yeah, we'll say it slow. It is Nyumba Upendo, and that means house of love in Swahili. So Nyumba Upendo. So we always talk about how do we bring love into the community, and then so Dr. Alisia Moutry, what type of
Dr.
doctor
Alisia
are
Moutry, thank you for calling again from Germany. We
Yeah,
appreciate you. Again, Dr. Alisia Moutry, and I have my doctorate in education. So I have a degree in educational leadership. I have been an educator for 33 years. So
Yeah.
thanks for the inquiry.
And anybody else in the community want to call in, you're welcome to call 444-5253. We're talking about unity in the community. Pastor, what I want you to do is talk about this shirt that I got on right here that y'all made for the church and for all of the people who were speaking, and talk about really what it means and what it represents.
And
Why you
then the
use
color
these-
too. The
these
army
four
green.
color
The
pillars.
purpose behind that.
So I can't take any credit for the color. I want to send a shout out to Sister Courtney Kelly. Courtney Kelly, she put together.
She ain't no stranger to
those-
WNO.
No,
Alex,
not at
Sister
all,
Courtney
not at all.
Kelly, and we had a great team. Bridget, I don't know.
Bridget
Please
Whitaker.
don't start me.
I was going to say, don't name them all.
Please
Can't
don't
get them
start
all.
me
Don't
naming
do that,
everybody.
Pastor.
But there was
We gotta say that.
Baba
Baba Rogers
Baba
there.
Baba
guys.
Rogers, of course, Rob Beaker,
Erica
Dr. Rob
Ashford.
Beaker Baker, I got a doctor in education too,
All right,
Dr. Erica
all right.
Ashford. But Courtney Kelly, she put together those T-shirts.
Beautiful.
The unity, love, respect, peace, and end the
Those
gun
the
violence. That part came from we had put all these names, as many names as we could on the flyer, and we didn't realize that it was going to stir up a hornet's nest where people were going to be so sensitive about not having a name on the flyer. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't want my name on the flyer. You know what else I don't want? I don't want OG Tweezy picture to be on this flyer. I don't want his son Juan Hogan to have to be on this flyer. We don't even want to be on this stuff. You understand what I'm saying? But there were people that were literally trying to be on the flyer. And I'm like, fam, we ain't even talking about that. But that's where that cultural check comes in, because it takes balanced voices to check the culture and check the ego. You heard Pastor Ken talk about that last night in prayer, where he talks about we lay down our egos, we lay down our titles, we lay down all those things, because this is important. But that came from, so we took all the names off the flyer and we put unity, love, respect, peace. Right. And we replaced it with that. So, yes, we want as many names on the flyer, but we need you to understand that the purpose is first and foremost for unity. Second of all, the name of your show, love. You know, we're going to respect each other, and we got to bring about peace. We got to bring an end to this gun violence. We got to bring an end to this reckless endangerment of everybody's safety that's happening in our community. If it's going to happen, we got to do it. And we got to curate the culture behind it that's going to do it. We are the ones that curate the influence and so on and so forth. And we got to, we laughing at calling people YNs and so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, my mama, when I would wear certain stuff out the house,
just for those, because some of the people might not know YNs, it's just young nigga. We're gonna just say what it is.
Young nature.
But my mama would say, boy, you ain't wearing that with me. You ain't coming out the house with me like that. So we got to create the culture. We got to change the culture, and we got to change this criminal mindset that's happening and all of these things.
Pastor, we got somebody on the line. Caller, you got a question or a comment? You on Nyumba Upendo, House of Love.
House of Love.
Hello?
Yes, you on with Dr.Alisia Moutry.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm calling from Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill.
All right, talk to us.
I want to give you an update first on the D.C. federal police presence in D.C. and then comment on what you're talking about.
All right, bring it together.
All right. The federal presence in D.C. as far as police officers, law enforcement, is mainly concentrated downtown on the National Mall where tourists go at, and Capitol Hill. It's not saturated as you would think in the areas where the high crime may be at. President Trump don't care about that. He care about protecting white people.
Because he started a insurrection, so he know what he got to protect.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's strangely, on January the 6th, when he was president, he watched them people storm the Capitol, but not one time did he call the National Guards in or anything. And law enforcement, one officer specifically, got killed, and 300 and counting got assaulted, and over 400 resigned due to trauma because of what happened. And then, add insult to injury, he pardoned all of them when he became president.
Now, I want to see how you're going to weave that into what's going on with us today, because I love what you're saying. I want you to weave that into what we're talking about right now here in Milwaukee with the gun violence.
Now, I just got out of prison 8 years ago.
Welcome home.
Not recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in for murder. And I did almost 46 years. I went in when I was 13, and I came out when I was 57. And since I've came out, I've gotten on my feet.
All right.
And my sister had gotten raped when I was a kid, and I unfortunately killed the guy that raped her. All my family died while I was incarcerated. Now I now work as a social worker because I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree.
Peace and respect, King.
Yeah, use them, Lord.
And I realize a lot of times we look at the church as if they're supposed to help us in a financial way, because I had expected that. But I've come to learn help comes in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need somebody to give you that word of motivation that if you stay on this path, victory will come.
Come on. I'm gonna let the pastor respond to you too. So go ahead, finish on that last point with me. Put a nice bow on
Okay.
this.
The goal is to not give up. If you believe in yourself 100% and God, you can accomplish anything.
Perfect.
And that's what I did.
And you did.
I was homeless, and then I got on my feet. But I never gave up. All my family is dead. They died while incarcerated, unfortunately.
We're going to ask you to hold on just a second. We're going to ask you to hold on. We're going to open the door to the pastor. We're going to pastor. There's some very deep words and some things that happened today. Absolutely. I'm just going to put it in your hands. I don't know if it's a prayer, if it's a word. I just ask that you say something that you believe is on your heart for this young man that has called.
Well, first and foremost, man, it's an amazing story of redemption, and it's just a proof that God's hand is definitely on your life, and it's a testimony to others in several different ways. That you know that if somehow that even when we go through these kinds of things, God can redeem, but it may take some time to go through those things. But one of the things that she said that he said, excuse me, was that the church is not always there just for the money. Sometimes it can be just a word of encouragement. And one of the things that that I was inspired by in this scenario, God had gave me that, some fights are not always about winning.
Yeah.
Because everybody was asking us, okay, well, what's gonna come from this night? And God was putting on my heart that some fights are not about winning. Sometimes you fight just to let the person that you're fighting know that they was in a fight. And so I really appreciate your comments, and I appreciate everything that you said. And I'm grateful to just know that somebody all the way in DC, that God's hand works all the way in DC, just like it's working here in Milwaukee.
But no, you know what I think about what you had said earlier in the show and what he said. You was like, I wanted to go back out and get revenge, but I didn't. He went out and got revenge, and it cost him in a different way. And so we talk about, like, how do you have that patience, that perseverance to be able to say, well, if ain't nobody else gonna do it, I got to get this own justice. And I say this to not be contradictory to what I talked about last night, because when I look in the Bible, I see a lot of war. And it says that it's a time for peace, it's a time for war. It is a time to strategize, but every war doesn't have to look the same. There's many ways to fight a battle. So how do we construct that anger, that rage, and turn it into a righteous anger?
You talk about a righteous anger, and and when you talk about war and things of that nature, but this is different because this is a war against us, by us, for nothing.
So we done fall into Minister Muhammad. What I love, we talk about social engineering, and it's a system that was designed to make us fight towards each other. So you say we got a real enemy to fight, but we fight amongst ourselves. So how can we ever defeat that enemy?
I agree, and I do know for a fact that there is definitely social engineering. I agree that there are situations that have definitely been curated for us to be in the situations that we're
coming
in.
On here. Let me hear
but
that.
Here's the but. I don't get to use that as the excuse to take a father from his children.
Come on.
I don't get to use that as an excuse to go out here and shoot up whole neighborhoods. I don't get to use social engineering as an excuse to rob, rape, and pillage. I don't get to use that. You know,
Mhm.
even in you know, you don't get to run the stoplight behind us and say I didn't see it, or because the stoplight was there. You know, we don't get to use that, and that's just real. You don't get to kill people in our community because you've been socially engineered.
Mhm.
You
We're
understand?
protected by trauma.
And I'm just being real with you. Like you know what I'm saying? I get it. I know there's a bigger fight that we have to fight. But we can't even start fighting the boogeyman until we wake up and turn the light on.
So what are some of the solutions? And Rosalind, I'm gonna come back to you as far as some of the things you heard where you say these are some next steps that we got from yesterday that we can definitely start to implement.
Before I answer that, I just wanted to kind of comment to one of the things the brother said, our last caller, regarding the amount of time he received for the purpose of his murder. Again, another reason it's so important that this call out for people go out to all people, even including folks in the justice system, judges, things like that. We need unity, because we are getting put in front of people and just we're being murdered in all different ways. We're losing everything. When it comes down to other races, the story behind the story matters.
Come on.
So we need people in position that when we come before them, how we got there matters and it's taken into consideration. So, you know, I just wanted to say that this call is for everybody.
Come on.
Everybody in the community, and it's necessary because it's going to take more than just one thing or two things or 4 groups or 5 groups to really make a difference.
It is. And you know what, the caller, he actually made a comment to say, you know, help comes in many ways.
Yes.
One of them, the first one he named already, was just motivation.
Mhm.
Sometimes somebody just needs to hear the particular words to lift them up, to get them going, right? I wanted to like help that to segue into like, what are some other ways? But before we do that, we do have a caller. We have another caller, and we're getting the calls today. Caller, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I just want to say I have a lot to say, but I'm gonna try to cram it in because I know y'all have a lot of other people to.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. What's going on today? You know, is many reasons why it's going on today. You know, because
we can't hear you real good. Do you have your radio on? Or are you on speakerphone? We want to make sure we getting all of what you're saying, King.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Well, I said, like, you know, there's a difference in the mindset between today, what's going on today, and then the mindset of what was happening in back in the day. We have a lot of grandmothers and stuff like that, you know, are transition. So they are not here to tell the parents of today what to do with their kids and how to do it. Because when you're raising your kids, you have to convey to that kid on a daily basis the values of life and what's right and what's wrong. These young kids, having kids today, they're not with that information as far as how raising their kids. So the times are different between the way it was in the past and the way it is now. And then another reason why we will murder each other like that, because we have a lot of outsiders from other cities coming in, bringing their street taxes with them. And we gather that information and so we can apply it ourselves. That's the change of time as far as what's going on as far as the kindness. Because there's no kindness now. There's no love now, you know. And that's all back on the prophecy of God. You know, he said in the latter days there will be a loss of love. And it's going on today.
It is. And we thank you for taking the time to call to give your input on the radio. We really appreciate that. What we want to make sure within Nyumba Upendo, it is the house of love. Love comes with, again, not only hope, but with strategies as well, with ways that we can begin to help. So again, I'm going back to our first caller started us off talking about one way to be able to help out is just to be able to motivate folks, right? I'm going to start with you, Rosalind, and then we'll go to Pastor. If you could just leave the audience members with a couple of things that maybe, what can I do? I'm hearing today, I want to help. I don't know what to do. Give me 1 or 2 things that you would recommend me to do.
So what I believe was most impactful for us in our past was people coming together making demands. You know, yes, we know that there's trauma, we know that there's system issues and all of those different things, which they had that and then some back then, but they was very clear on what they wanted, what they didn't want. And we need to do that, because I think that it is so much conversation, good conversation, but it's getting lost with all of these words. So in the midst of us being united, and I know that, excuse me, I know that Apostle is going to really speak on the unity piece, so I must leave that to him. But in addition to that, while we're uniting, we need to come up, what are our demands? You know, if we need to start with 3 demands or 2, whatever, and stick to it. An advantage
right there,
go ahead.
we got to go into a break, but I love what you said. You talk
Yes.
about the 10-point plan from the Panthers. They went to Washington for a march on jobs. You didn't just have a dream. So I want y'all to keep listening to Nyumba Upendo. We coming back with Sister Rosalind and Pastor Redundant, and we're gonna wrap this up with a bow, just for the show, but not for what we got to do in life. See you on the other side, Milwaukee. Hey, you're back on WNOB 860 AM 106.5 FM. Welcome back to Nyumba Upendo. We was just talking with Sister Rosalind about some of these strategies. To be clear, we're going to go through those strategies, go to a call, and then the pastor going to give us some more strategies before we end the show. Sister Rosalind.
Yeah, so when we left off, I was just stating that again, I think that what is going to be most impactful is that we come up with, 2 or 3 things, and we keep saying it. We keep fighting for it until it get done.
Mm.
And then we move on to the next. And as Dr.Alisia just stated, and that's not, you got a couple of things over there that you yelling, and you got a couple of things over there that you yelling. No, we need to be one voice, one sound, and we need to bring it and fight for it. Take it to Madison, take it to Washington. Like and that's the way that we have to do it. If we got to get in the streets and march, there is a formula that worked. And we got to go back to that. We got to bring God in the midst. So as we're having our meetings, our quarterly meetings, whatever faith-based place that they're at, that's where it needs to be held at. And again, we need to be, I just want to say this real quick, and then I know Apostle got some things to say, but other races don't believe in the exact route that all of them are taking. So for an example, President Trump, every white person don't believe that he's taking the same route, but they have a goal, and that's what they believe in. And it doesn't matter for them. They put that to the side, and they stick together and they follow that. And that's what is our goal? Put all that other stuff to the side, and we got to get to it. That's what we need to be fighting for.
No, that's true. Caller, we appreciate you waiting. We don't got a lot of time, so we want you to give us a question or a comment and make it succinct for the people. You on WNOV, Nyumba, Upendo.
Praise God, young people. To look at our people and look at what our needs as black people. I'm a father of a 14-year-old girl, and she being a teenager and out here, and I look at society and I look at the young boys around the school, and a lot of the parents really don't pay no attention to their children anymore. They let their sons walk around here with these masks, ski masks, and a hoodie on, and it's so dark out here with these children. Their spiritual life is just next to nothing. And we as parents, we got to learn to sit down and look our children in the face and be real with them about spirituality, about God, not just saying, I'm spiritual. No, let them know what it's about. Because it's so heart-wrenching to see our people. See, we could look at the Hispanics, we could look at the Chinese, we could look at the whites. But these are children that's being attacked now.
I appreciate those sage words. Pastor, I know you had some strategies too, where you said, I want to make sure these is letting on to the people.
Well, the question was asked, what would we tell people to do at this point? Like, right? What would we instruct people that are sitting at home trying to figure out, how do I get involved? Well, first and foremost, we're encouraging everybody to, all of us, me as well, encouraging everybody to really truly do a self-reflect, examine your environment. Like Joshua said, as for me and my house, take accountability for what's happening around you. If if you got a little shooter in your basement, you know what I mean? We need you to take accountability for that. First and foremost. The second thing, we want people to get involved. Don't lay back, don't lean back, get involved. Whether it's so many different organizations. We're not trying to create a new organization with state of emergency, MKE. What we're trying to do is formulate a collective by bringing all of the organizations together. The beautiful thing about last night is that I heard one of the most beautiful words that I heard last night was someone said, there are people in this room that have not sat together in years. And so that's by design. Somebody's paying people to be separate. Somebody's paying people to be on opposite sides of the fence. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to disrupt the disunity, right? We got to disrupt the disunity. And we got to come to a common ground. You talked about Trump. You talked about Republican strategists and so on and so forth. They have a common ground. You will talk to these people and they'll tell you how they don't like each other and so on and so forth. But the common ground, that's what they're fighting for. And we got to at least get to a common ground where at least we want to live. Right? Did everybody agree that we want to live? I don't want to get shot when I leave here, and neither do you. Right. So we got to come to a common ground that, guess what? We got to put a enforcement across the board that, hey, That's no longer tolerated in our community. That is not protected. No different than we don't protect pedophiles in our community.
Come on.
That's why radio stations won't even play R. Kelly. Because guess what? Not that his music ain't good, but because we don't protect pedophiles. So guess what? We got to almost mark these murderers in our community like pedophiles. We got to raise the red flag on that and say, hey, you know what? This is getting out of hand. Y'all killing grandmamas, y'all killing babies, children, and we got to raise the state of emergency, orange level, whatever. We got to raise the level of that up. And so these are some of the strategies that are going to come out of us all coming together and meeting. First, I wanted to make sure that we can get to a place of unity, because we can't do nothing if we're all in disunity. So we got to unify, right? Every organization, not highlighting one over the other. Can we come together? Can we come to common ground? And then can we begin to emerge some strategies and implement some strategies? One of the strategies that we want to implement is we want to raise the senseless murder persona in our community to the same degree as pedophiles.
Come on. We only got a couple minutes before Shopton comes on. So, Rosalind, Pastor, I want you to give us in 30 seconds, what's your last gem that you want to drop onto the people?
Well, tomorrow, Thursday at 1 p.m.
Come on.
At Dante Hamilton Park. Please be there. We're doing a press release. We're shouting to the top of our lungs. Enough is enough. Tomorrow, Thursday, 1 p.m. Dante Hamilton Park.
30 seconds. I'll take 5 seconds to first and foremost say absolute unity across the board in our community. And I'll take the last 25 seconds to say that OG Tweezy was an amazing man. He was an amazing man. He was striving to change so many areas of his life. He was doing so much better for the community. He was
Amazing
about
father.
the people. He was an amazing father. He loved his children. He loved Shaq, Juan, Sasha. He loved the people that he rocked with. He was a unifier of all generations. And I just want to say, Milwaukee, we lost a good one. And we're going to do everything to keep his name and his legacy alive. Long live OG Tweezy. Boom.
Hey, and I'm gonna take the words from the shirt. Unity. We've been talking a lot about unity. Let's come together so that we can create and build more love. And when we do that, we create more respect. And when we respect folks, that brings on that peace. Peace. Nyumba Upendo.
Well, I'm going to end it as my maternal grandmother used to say. She said, the best way to heal yourself is to help others. And as Sister McLean has taught us, healing starts today. We'll see you next week on Nyumba Upendo, WNOV 860 AM 106.4.